Arthur Fleck, a failed comedian who seeks connection as he walks the streets of a pre-Batman Gotham City. When isolation, bullying, and the fact that he's just disregarded by society starts to get to him, he begins a slow trip down into madness. Joker was one of my most anticipated movies of this year because it's a movie centered around my favorite comic book villain of all time, the Joker. That said, I had no idea what to expect. Even as the trailer started pouring out onto the internet, I just had no clue what I was going into. On top of that, it's now one of the most controversial movies of all time. So yay, another controversial comic book movie, guys, woo! I'll admit, I was worried that this movie would suffer purely because for a long time I felt that you can't really have the Joker without Batman, the same way you can have Batman without the Joker. Joker is the antithesis to Batman. In a way, you could view the Joker as what Batman would have become if he went down the wrong path, and having Batman and Joker in the same story, usually at odds with each other, always reminds us of that, and as you know, this movie takes place in a world where Batman doesn't exist yet, so I was interested to see how this movie was going to explore the character of Joker without the presence of Batman. I love this movie so much. I'm just gonna say, this is one of the greatest movies I have ever seen. It is truly incredible. One of the biggest reasons that this movie is so wonderful is Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker himself. This guy floored me. I had a feeling that Phoenix was gonna be good in this movie, but I couldn't have imagined that he was gonna be this good. He is, in my mind, 110% deserving of an Oscar nomination. I've heard a million different takes on the Joker laugh in my time as a Batman/DC fanboy, and I didn't think we'd see another take on it that was different from the rest somehow. But I was wrong. So freaking wrong. Whereas other Joker laughs were used to convey the Joker's sense of humor or just show how batshit crazy he is, in this version, his laughter is used to convey pain. There are multiple times in this movie where this guy is laughing his ass off and his throat will start catching and he'll be hacking and coughing and he'll put his hand on his chest, which tells us that laughing as hard as he is genuinely hurting him. It causes him almost agonizing physical pain, and that is just such a great idea. It turns something that would typically be associated with happiness into something painful. I don't think Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight will ever be topped, but Joaquin Phoenix, I think, is on the same level of awesomeness. What Joaquin Phoenix does in this movie is unique to him, in the same way that what Ledger did was unique to him. Phoenix's take on the Joker is ferocious. He does not hold back, and he eats every second of screen time he's given, which thankfully is a lot. Joker does rely on creating sympathy for its main character quite heavily. There are a lot of scenes that focus on how bad Arthur's life is and how badly society treats him, which is a risky move because if you lean way too heavily into that, you can risk making the movie feel sappy in a sense, and if you ask the audience to feel sorry for this guy too much, then it can actually become annoying and so over the top that it just becomes pretentious. Thankfully though, the storytelling in Phoenix's performance walked that line like it's a walk in the park. Pun intended, by the way. Yeah, there are quite a few scenes where I was genuinely thinking, geez, I feel so much sympathy for you right now, man. But at the same time, behind his eyes, there's this darkness that is slowly consuming him, and it got to the point where I was no longer feeling sympathy for the guy. I was becoming genuinely terrified of him. Wisely, this movie doesn't try to justify all the terrible things that the Joker does in this movie by basically saying, yeah, it looks like a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing because da-da-da-da-da. Instead, this movie just focuses on why he does those things. The movie knows that the things he's doing are terrible things, and what's even more terrifying is that the Joker himself knows that he's doing terrible things, which arguably makes this take on the character more realistic. He chooses that life of crime because he doesn't really have anything else to live for. As you may have guessed, this movie doesn't have any form of a heroic character in order to contrast with the Joker. It can be a challenge to make someone who is slowly transitioning to evil the protagonist that's going to carry the rest of the movie, but with that said, after watching this movie, I'm relieved that there isn't a heroic character in this movie. Not just because it's one heck of a ballsy move, but it actually forces the audience to ask themselves questions like, do we play a part in creating the bad guy? Or are we the reason that people like the Joker are created? It's something that's heavily suggested throughout the entire movie, and it does show that there are people in this society that treat others like shit, and that can cause horrible things to happen to the victims of that treatment, both physically and mentally. The fact that a comic book movie is asking questions like, are we the cause for all the horrible stuff in the world even though we're not the ones pulling the trigger, is amazing to me because it's taking risks. Risks that pay off, and better yet, it's making you think. The score for this movie is haunting. I got goosebumps every time the score for this movie was playing. It just got to me, and it doesn't feel like it's overstaying its welcome because it's so minimal. it's a great addition to the movie, especially in some of the more creepier scenes. Joker is a dang beautiful movie. It is beautiful. The cinematography is gorgeous, especially when paired up with the movie's breathtaking color palette. There are times where the way this movie was shot just made the movie feel so otherworldly and dreamlike, especially in the way that it incorporated the music. It doesn't look or feel like a comic book movie. It feels like a drama, and that's exactly what this movie is. It's a character study about a dude's slow descent into madness, and it's riveting from start to finish. I think this movie is a masterpiece, and I cannot wait to watch it again. It is truly one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, which is ironic because it doesn't even feel like a comic book movie. I really hope that at the very least Joaquin Phoenix gets an Oscar nomination for his performance in this movie because he really deserves it. I let this movie just mind-blowing. It is one of the most uniquely disturbing and beautiful stories I've ever seen on the big screen. So I have been hearing about all the concerns and controversies about this movie, you know, the ones that have stirred up since before its release, and I don't really want to talk about it because I feel like what's needed to be said about it has already been said. And I'm just a guy who went to go see this movie and really liked it, and I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it as a film, and I feel like I've done that. I feel like I've fulfilled my purpose with this video. So with that said, as a film that I really enjoyed talking about and really enjoyed watching, Joker gets a 10 out of 10. So that was my review of Joker. I do hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much as always for watching. You guys are the best. The fact that I even get views at all on this channel is amazing to me. So once again, thank you guys so much. For real, you guys are amazing. Anyway, before I go, I would just like to ask, what did you think of Joker? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was somewhere in the middle? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and I will indeed see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care.